Good morning, Albert. How are you?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Albert, we're doing awesome, man. So there's a poem that I love by Robert Frost, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. And the genesis of the poem and the thought is, I have miles to go. I have promises to keep. The Bears are in this process, 7-3. People are going, what the hell is going on with the Chicago Bears? 5 comeback wins in the final 2 minutes of games. That's a franchise record. Can they keep those promises, and can they keep this thing rolling down the tracks, or do you not believe in them?
That's very deep, and I lost you there about halfway through your explanation.
Oh,
but,
wow.
Sorry, I'm just a little tired coming out of the weekend. I mean, sometimes we just find teams that have a horseshoe stuck up their you-know-what, over the course of a single season. And I'm not saying it's all luck. It's not. You got to be in these games to begin with. But, you always hear that, right? Like when a team will be coming off of a year where they were 11-1 in these sorts of games. So it's not unprecedented. And I do think, they've had a knack for making the plays at the very end of the game, setting up the field goal, obviously, this week, and then Cairo Santo being able to come in and hit that, right? And, you go back to the scrambles against the Giants from Caleb, the throw from Caleb to Colston Loveland against Cincinnati, Loveland breaking the tackle and doing the rest. We've seen a lot of those sorts of plays made. Now, is winning that way sustainable over the course of 5 years? No. Generally, that stuff will catch up to you if you're relying too much on those sorts of plays to win in those sorts of situations. But can it happen in a single year? It certainly can. And it feels like the Bears are one of those teams right now. Still got a long way to go. I think they still have 3 division games left, right? They're 1-2 in the division now. But certainly, with how the teams around them look, and I think, I'd say all 3 of them looking a little sideways right now. You certainly seem to have at least a little bit of an opening.
So would you characterize the Bears as being lucky or good?
I would say a beneficiary of circumstances in certain ways.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if the Vikings are better at quarterback, you imagine how good that team is right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I do think that that's a big piece of it. And it's not all on JJ. I mean, it was on Carson too. And they got good quarterback play last year out of Sam Darnold, really good quarterback play out of Sam Darnold. And I don't think I'm speaking out of school to say that hasn't been the same. The Packers, they've had injury issues on offense. They lose, I think arguably their most, their most dangerous offensive weapon in Tucker Kraft. Josh Jacobs goes down this week. They've had all kinds of injuries at the receiver position. Their defense has been good, but they've been dealing with that. And then, this is the Lions' first year with 2 new play callers, which I think has had an effect on them. Plus, they're probably not as good on the offensive line, which was such a huge part of their identity. So, I think it's, it's a convergence of all of those things. Now, here's where you give the Bears credit. You have to be good enough to take advantage of that, right? And for a lot of years, I'd say over the last 10 years, the Bears would not have been good enough to take advantage of that. And this year they are.
In terms of looking at this Bears team, people have called in here and said, your defense is trash. Well, you're going to get back TJ Edwards pretty soon here, maybe this week. We'll see. Jalen Johnson's window to return has opened. He was questionable for this past Sunday, and then they ruled him out on Saturday. He could go this weekend. Kyler Gordon is now going to have his window, it looks like, reopened. All of a sudden you go, wow, that's 3 Pro Bowl level players that you're adding to this team. How good can they get?
On defense specifically, you're saying?
Yeah.
A top 10-ish. I don't know. I mean, I think when you've got your full complement of corners, you're pretty good at that position, right? Mm-hmm. I think up front they've gotten better. I'd say they're in that neighborhood of top 10. I mean, the defense has won games for them this year, so I would say they're in the neighborhood of the top 10. I just think it's a team that's really found a way to play complementary football, and when one piece is down, another piece can be up, and I just, I think you see it in the locker room after these games. Like they've got a good mix, and they've got a good mix of players. They've got a good mix with the way the coaches are utilizing everybody. And is the defense dominant? No, that's clear. But for most of that game on Sunday against Minnesota, they were able to take advantage of J.J. McCarthy, right? Like they were able to take advantage of some of the I'd say young quarterback plays that J.J. was making and young quarterback mistakes he was making. They didn't get the stop at the end, but they played well enough end to end, to keep that score low enough where you were able to win on a field goal. So, I don't look at like the Bears as being overwhelmingly strong in any one area. I just think they're pretty competent all over the place. You know what I mean? Like it's just, is there a gaping hole in the roster right now? I don't know if there is one. Maybe you guys can. Maybe I'm missing something because I don't watch them as closely as you guys do.
A little more pressure on the edge. You got to get more quarterback pressure.
Like and that's been sort of like you lose Dio, and that becomes like a little bit of an issue for sure. And I think like who is the opposite edge has been a question we've been asking for 2 years now, but.
Yep.
If that's like the only thing like that you can really circle, I'd say they're in a lot better spot than they've been in a while, right?
Albert, what are your thoughts on the Steelers so far this year?
So I think there are times when you can see the age. I think there are times when you watch them, I think there are times when it looks like the team speed isn't quite where it needs to be. And you can kind of feel the age of the team. And then there are other points where they look like savvy and tough, and you can see the playmaking. So like last week against Cincinnati, being able to score twice on defense, and we've seen that in spots from them. What they did to the Colts a couple of weeks ago, where they're able to create the turnovers. I think when you guys watch the Steelers, what you'll see is a team that, it's just like they're very reliant on their savvy, and they're very reliant on their timing and being able to make big plays at the right time because they've got a lot of age on that roster. I mean. Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, Aaron Rodgers, and we'll see what happens with Aaron Rodgers' hand this week. But even DK Metcalf is just 28, but he's kind of like an old 28. It's just it's an older team, and you can visibly see the age in some of the games they play, and almost that like there's a heaviness to the way they play. But, they do have like a knack for it, and you can kind of see it's a really smart team as well.
Albert, give me the top 5 teams in the NFC, and do our Bears make the cut?
Well, I put the Rams and Seahawks at the top of the list. Like, I think
ahead of the Eagles?
I just think as far as how they've played this year, I think either of those teams, like I put the Rams number 1. Like, I just think the Rams, like, to me, here's the thing, okay? This is what the Rams have that I don't think anyone else in the NFC has, is they're able to win without elite quarterback play. Like, there have been games this year where Stafford has thrown for 200 yards. I think this was one of these weeks. I have to look up the numbers, but he didn't throw for a ton this week, right? No. There have been games they can win. They can win without elite quarterback play, and they have a Hall of Famer at the position. Is there anybody else who can say that? Like, that's the thing about them is like, and I think that's what wins in the playoffs is like, if they pull the ripcord, Stafford can throw for 350, right? Like in 3 touchdowns and all of that, but they don't need him to be that, which is like the most dangerous place you can be when you've had an elite quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, we can win a shootout, but we don't need to play on those terms, which I think you started to see like that edge that team has. Going back to the playoffs last year when they went toe-to-toe with the Eagles in a snowstorm. I mean, you would think a team from L.A. with Stafford at quarterback would never be able to play. They played them tougher than anybody, and on their field and their conditions.
Should have beat them.
And so I think the Rams are the best team in the NFC. They might be the best team in the NFL because of that. I would put the Seahawks right there. I'm really impressed with the Seahawks. And I almost came away more impressed with the Seahawks for being able to almost beat the Rams with Darnold throwing the 3 picks. I think Sam can be much better than that. There's just this thing with him and the Rams that goes back to last year. So those two I think would be there. The Eagles would be there. Those would be my top 3 in the NFC right now. I mean, are you wavering a little on Tampa? I don't know.
I am. I said that about a half hour ago here. Yes, I am.
Yeah. So I may be wavering a little bit on Tampa. I don't think there's anything else in that division that I'd be too scared of. San Francisco is interesting. Like, I think San Francisco is going to be there. And I think San Francisco, when they get Ayuk back, and now all of a sudden they've got like an offense that's like close to full strength. Can they make it work on defense without Bosa and Warner? But I put the 3 NFC West teams in the top 5. I put the 3 NFC West teams in the top 5. I put the Eagles in the top 5. And then I put the Bucs in there. Maybe I put the Bears 6, which I cannot believe I don't have an NFC North team in there. And I would have put the Lions like 2 last week, but there's something about them right now that's shaking me a little bit. And I don't know. I think I
agree with you. And I like that team. I like that coach. Something's off.
You know what I think it is? I think it's like it's a less extreme version of what we're seeing with the Chargers, right? So, like, I don't know if you guys watched the Chargers on Sunday. I'm sure you didn't.
Yes.
Nobody was watching Chargers.
I did.
Yes, we did. Yep.
Okay. Well, like, the Chargers had their doors blown off. And it just, I'd imagine, like, there hasn't been a game where another team has had quadruple the number of rushing yards on a Jim Harbaugh team ever, right? Like, I can't imagine that's ever happened.
Yeah.
But you know what it is like the identity of that Chargers team ran through the offensive line. And while everybody's focusing on everything else, like, so much of what they were building was about, Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, and both those guys are out for the year. So, like, the identity has been stolen from that team, And, like, I sort of feel the same way. Like, there's a less extreme version of that going on in Detroit, and that so much of what Detroit had built over the last couple of years was built around having the best offensive line in the league. And it's not a bad offensive line, but it's not what it was. And so I think that's the difference. Like, when I watch them, it's like that dominant offensive line, like, it's not there right now. And I don't know if that's Taylor Decker getting older. I don't know if that's not having Frank Ragnow. I don't know if part of it's Ben Johnson not being there, but I would say, like, that would be the difference with the Lions. And I still think they've got a high ceiling, and, when they turn it on, it's impressive. If you don't have the line play at the level that they had it, like, the identity of the team does change.
Albert, you're the man. Have a great rest of your week. Bears and Steelers, baby. Maybe no Aaron Rodgers, but we'll see what happens.
Great uniform matchup, right?
A classic uniform matchup.
Yeah.
Great uniform matchup.
Find a way to win.